Hello, my name is Evan Paul, and I am the Director of Product Marketing at Wowza, and we're here at NAB 2018 to talk about how Facebook is changing the broadcast news industry and how to adjust. Today, my guests are Neil Bowling, KHQ Station Manager, and Tracy Saravica, the Kohl's Director of Content and Marketing. So let's start off with a little introduction of what KHQ does. What is KHQ, Neil?
KHQ is the NBC affiliate in Spokane, Washington. We're kind of the mothership, if you will, for the entire Kohl's media division. We have markets in Tri-Cities, Yakima, Missoula, Montana, Billings, Montana, Great Falls, Butte, Bozeman, pretty much the entire state of Montana.
Basically all the beautiful places in the world,
Yeah,
it sounds like.
exactly. Unless it's December, then some would question that. But my role, I specifically oversee the TV operation in Spokane. However, I'm kind of the one that goes out and does our vendor agreements, so I kind of have to stay up on the new technologies, and I help develop the strategic plan with this one here.
Perfect.
Yeah. And my role is I was the news director at KHQ, and over the last few months my role has evolved to content and marketing for all the stations that Neil mentioned that are in the Kohl's family.
Perfect. Great. So there's a reason you're here, and that's because you guys are currently using a Wowza Clearcaster and using that on Facebook Live.
Sure
So
are.
let's just start off with how are you using Facebook Live at KHQ?
Well, we have used it traditionally. I mean, I say traditionally for whatever the year and a half or whatever that Facebook has really been pushing the live product to supplement anything that we would stream live on our website. And over time, we've more or less adjusted our best practices so that it is, events that don't necessarily have a known outcome, like a car chase or, like live streaming a bald eagle's nest, something like that, where, there's some.
Those are the best.
Yeah. Well, you'd be surprised. I don't know what it is about our market, but those bald eagles, they get a lot of attention.
Or panda bears. It seems like bald eagles and panda
yeah.
bears, yeah.
Exactly. But the thing is when it's, there's a little bit of a mystery as to how something is going to end up. Those seem to be the better things that are streamed on there. What we've done since, just kind of throwing everything against the wall and seeing what sticks, is we've actually introduced specific products, one of which is the brainchild of Tracy here. If you want to talk about lunch break and how we use the Clearcaster to execute that, and what were you thinking? I guess I've taken over as the question.
What were we thinking? It was an interesting genesis. January, about a year ago, we got together a group of folks, millennials, in the newsroom, and we said, okay, we have a test team, and let's talk about how you actually take in news and what actually would drive you. The group got together, and ultimately they said, I think we'd like to do a spin, a twist on what would typically be a new newscast, but we want to do the non-newscast. So from that, they created Lunch Break, which, if you have a chance to see it, will be obvious that it's not our main anchors, and we did that quite intentionally. We wanted somebody or a couple people who, quite honestly, were not your typical anchor types, who actually live the digital world and interact. So from there, we actually had a broadcast that was born that does everything from breaking news, live events, news that is actually gone viral. And the platform has opened up a multitude of opportunities, not only for breaking news as it happened, because now we have a built-in audience that will come and visit because they expect us to do something, but on top of it, we've come up with a viable opportunity for sponsors.
Very interesting. So it all came from the brainchild of a bunch of millennials.
It did. It really
That's
did.
Very cool.
Uh-huh.
That's very cool. So you do both breaking news and kind of pre-thought out content?
We do. What we just talked about was the lunch break, which is anything, and we're very transparent with the audience. And we say today it could be 2 minutes, it could be 20 minutes, it could be an hour if we think it's valuable content.
So not your 30-minute segment.
No, it is not. But on top of that, in addition, we also do, breaking news. Our fellow who actually anchors lunch break will run out and do breaking news elements that are in addition to that, that are live. In addition to that, we also do a nightly weathercast that we do that's a prime time mix. So we've done a variety of things that have built on after establishing lunch break. So we are on, I would say, 3, 4, 5 times a day with something that we actually produce local content from. It is not just driven from things that come maybe from the network feeds, the latest car chase, or dare I say, the Eagles hatching.
Right, and the Clearcaster has really helped us in 2 key ways. One is because of the sponsorships that Tracy has mentioned. We're able to tag those sponsors a lot more efficiently, effectively, quickly, without going through this whole process. And additionally, we like these lunch breaks to be kind of interactive. You know, we want to engage with the audience in real time, during the execution of these. And the display is very slick. It allows our talent to actually read the comments and so forth, like on their confidence monitor, essentially.
Yep. So let's get to both quality as well as, let's get to engagement as well as talent view. But let's talk about quality first. So what advantages does Facebook and Clearcaster have over your typical OTT to your website?
Well, right now, I would say that Facebook is sort of the mass audience generator. I mean, we have so many people who now just rely on Facebook as essentially an aggregator of news. They can go there, get a one-stop shop for all of their news content for the day, and we try mightily to promote people to go to, our OTT platform and so forth, but Facebook is just easy. I mean, they've got it all kind of figured out, and,
Yes.
and especially when you add in tools like the Clearcaster, it just lends itself to the immediacy, getting things on, and the simplicity, and then also the engagement. I mean, it's kind of like a focus group of sorts for us as we're producing our stories for the other legacy platforms, namely broadcast television.
So
I'm sorry, go ahead.
is the quality that you're putting onto Facebook representative of KHQ and what you'd want?
That's a good question.
Like the actual resolution and...
Oh yeah,
Video
because we use our studio cameras, which are fully high def and the whole 9 yards. We don't route it through our control room, but because the Clearcaster is fully HD and everything, you don't notice any kind of signal degradation or anything like that.
Perfect. Tracy, were you going to say something?
The thing that has fascinated me with this this partnership, for all intents and purposes, is the fact that now we can have better conversations with our audience, and admittedly can be more responsive to them. We find more times than not we will actually do something throughout the course of the day, and it'll change what our game plan is for the actual newscast, because not only do we get a feel for what they want to consume, but what they need. And that's allowing us to be better providers for our local audience.
Right.
And that actually has been absolutely priceless.
So with Clearcaster, you have a talent view so that people on camera actually can see the comments coming in on Facebook. Do you guys leverage that to have those kind of conversations?
Oh, every day. You mean to talk back and forth as it's happening?
Dynamically
Absolutely. That's
adjusting
absolutely
to what the
part of
audience
it.
wants.
And I had said in the very beginning, we worked very hard at the start of it when the test team came up with this idea, not to make it typical anchors, not because they're not incredible, because we have incredible talent. But the reality is you're programmed differently as broadcasts to actually speak out to everybody as opposed to interacting. And what these folks have been able to do is pave the way by having those conversations. conversations. Here's been the fascinating thing. Our main anchors now, when they do join us, when we have something that's an important role for them to be a part of it, actually will do the same thing. So their engagement level with the audience has increased tremendously.
And to kind of build on what Tracy's saying, broadcast used to be such a one-way conversation. It was
Absolutely. Yep.
it was the old news anchor, reading the news every night, and it was one direction. But now we're really not content curators anymore. We're more conversation curators. We need to have our fingers on the pulse of what's going on in the community, and Facebook is an important tool in order to essentially gather that conversation and curate it effectively.
And that's going to be extremely important for a local news channel to have those type of conversations.
Well, I'll give you a great example. We actually had a horrendous storm that happened. The storm was supposed to go past us, and Mother Nature didn't cooperate with what the models said, and boy, did it start midday. Because we were interacting with the audience as we were on Facebook with them, there were 2 instances where we had people who said that they were either stuck or they actually had unique little stories where they were. One guy in particular was actually trying to get out of a parking lot of all things, and we said, oh great, talk to him there, and then got him on the phone and took it the next step to be able to chat with him. So, I mean, the reality is it's allow us to do things in real time and have incredible give and take that we never would have been able to before. And not only did he have a good story, but also there were people in that area who were also affected by what he was going through because it was a traffic issue that didn't allow him to get out there.
That's really good to hear, and that's exactly why we wanted to create Clearcaster and put it on Facebook Live, for exactly that reason. But you guys are in business to make money. So how is sponsorships playing into that Facebook Live? You can't do traditional commercials anymore. How are you working that?
Well, then that's the $1 million, hopefully, question.
Hopefully more than $1 million.
We've experimented with the tools that Facebook gives us, which is just the simple tagging, of the primary sponsor. We've also explored the notion of, product placement. So, a sandwich company, for example, that wants to sponsor our lunch break, we have the sandwich wrappers or whatever sitting up on the desk. And then the traditional radio reads, which is today's Facebook lunch break is brought to you by Subway, let's get to the news, that kind of thing. This is where using non-main anchors is a little bit, gives us a little bit more flexibility because we want to protect our main anchors from crossing over that line. We call it the separation of church and state. Sales and news, they have to stay pretty far apart. And by using the more of the digital actors in the newsroom, we can experiment a little and we can see how that works.
We had an interesting phenomena happen with one of the folks who decided to advertise. It's a local place called Swinging Doors, and they actually we did our thing with them and did the read and we moved on. But it started a conversation among the people on Facebook who were communicating with us. So the benefit to the underwriter or advertiser was that they got much better endorsement just from people who were sharing their experience, which obviously was positive in that case, than ever would have been if it was just a commercial that had been pushed out on regular broadcast. It was fascinating to watch unfold.
So the engagement not only goes for your guys' news, but to your
There's a halo
sponsors.
effect.
Very
In that case,
interesting.
there was.
Very interesting. So have you thought about taking any of that up to the more of the news section, or are you going to keep it church and state? Is that the plan?
We've thought about everything. I think that it's just going to be because of that tension that exists there between, that separation. We just have to be very strategic and very thoughtful about what we try and how we experiment. And we might settle on a strategy that we haven't even thought of yet. But that's the brilliance of a Facebook lunch break, because there's no template. I mean, every day can be a completely different product. We're just trying to see what makes the audience the most engaged.
And it's interesting how transparent you can be because the medium is not the traditional for everybody. There's not the same level of expectation. So because you can experiment a little bit, you can figure out what actually works for both the comfort of your newsroom as well as for the underwriter who decides to sign on. And it's interesting. It's been an interesting journey because the audience seems very, very receptive. They understand and they separate just fine. And honestly, it feels like it's a great local opportunity for sponsors who actually also live and work in our area.
Right.
Well, we also have, we're at this point of time, it's kind of unique in the evolution of Facebook, but broadcasters really rely on Facebook to promote their legacy product, like our newscast, right, and getting people to our website. Facebook has long been the number one referral source for people going to khq.com. But we make our money still to this day most of our money on the main newscast, whether it's the morning show or the evening shows. And so we have to be creative about how we drive people to those products.
Perfect. Well, and the sponsors that you're putting on the lunch break, are they open to new ideas as well? Is that kind of what their expectation is they're just trying to find new avenues to promote their products?
I would argue they're not traditionalists in any way.
Yeah, they're the ones that are like, what, let's just try something different here and see what this gets us. They are advertisers in the sense that they have been on TV, the ones that we've used so far, but they've also been TV advertisers with unusual products. Like, for example, Swinging Doors that Tracy mentioned earlier has long been the sponsor of one of our segments on the morning show, Birthdays, where we read out, and happy birthday to Evan, by the way, you get a free lunch at Swinging Doors. So we're going to talk about how do we evolve that even, so that there's some kind of benefit for people to now support that brand and that sponsor.
Well, on the horizon, do you think there's any opportunity to bring in other non-traditional advertisers that have shied away from advertising for whatever reason on air, but maybe could do something a little bit more interesting on social?
I definitely think so, because there's I think Facebook has this certain vibe of accessibility. It's like, it's not, there's a stigma about broadcasting that, well, the ads are just too expensive, which if there's any advertisers out there right now, that's not true. You can really afford broadcasting pretty easily, but there is definitely a lower threshold there for something like a social media, embedded ad and that sort of thing. So hopefully they're also watching this, because we have a lot of followers of our Facebook page, and they're like, maybe we should jump on this bandwagon. Maybe we could get in on this action.
So let's talk about archived content. Are you doing anything interesting with all of the assets that you already have and storage?
Well, that's an interesting question. What we did, we launched our app for connected TV devices back in November. And when I say connected TV devices, I mean like your Rokus, your Apple TVs, your Fire Sticks, that sort of thing. And we had been really working on developing this app for quite a while. And one of the conversations that I'd been having with other TV stations across the country is, what are you finding the most success with? And I basically kept hearing the same answer, which is you have to do something unique. You have to bring value to this OTT app that they would not get just by watching the normal newscast or what have you. So, we're sitting in a room and we're kind of scratching our heads, and then our thought was, we're a family-owned company. We've never changed ownership hands. So we have these big rooms of old videotape that's just kind of sitting down in the room gathering dust. How can we bring this video back to life again? And nostalgia's big, right? I mean, Will and Grace is back, Roseanne's back, what's old is new again.
Every movie ever made is now being made again.
Exactly. So let's give this content some new life. And so we kind of like Disney has the Disney Vault, where every now and then they'll bring out the video of Bambi or whatever and re-release it to the public. Well, we have what we call the Q Vault. So we've gone in and we've identified every week of the year some kind of major story, and we quiz the audience in our newscast. What year did this happen? Was it 1999, 2000, 2001? We then also put this on Facebook, where it's like the ultimate throwback Thursday. On this day in history, this serial killer was arrested, or this team made the Rose Bowl, that sort of thing. And we give them just enough of a taste to kind of whet their appetite, and then we push them on to the OTT platform, where they can watch the entire story as it was originally presented straight out of our Q Vault.
Well, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. You already got it there, and everybody wants to Throwback Thursday,
Exactly.
watch things that are old. So
Throwback
that's
Thursday on steroids,
That's right. So let's wrap up with one question that's kind of on every broadcaster's mind. It has to be, what does the change in the Facebook algorithm mean for broadcasters, and especially for KHQ?
Well, that's going to be the second $1 million question with everything. We use ShareRocket to monitor our metrics, and we're somewhat obsessive about it, wouldn't you say? Where every day we're looking at our report card and seeing how many people are watching and engaging with our content. We've heard things like, well, Facebook is going to still try to give local broadcasters, local news sources, an edge, because we have built that relationship with the audience. And yet they've changed the algorithm, which, there's the outcome there. I haven't really noticed a huge drop off in terms of how many people are actually engaging with our product, but it's still early in the process. We're barely 1 quarter into this whole change up, and I think Facebook is, when's the next change going to be? That's the danger of relying on a product that you can't control.
It is
to kind of place your destiny in their hands.
Well, it's going to be interesting over the next few years to see how it affects us and affects broadcasters like yourself. But until then, I just want to thank you, Neil, and Tracy, who's
thank
having
you.
a little trouble. right
Tracy,
now.
Unfortunately, she came down with a cold, and so she's in a coughing fit right now. But
yes, but thank you both for being on, and
our pleasure.
We really appreciate it. And this is Evan Paul for the Wowza Studio session, and thank you very much, everybody.